So moving on, after that I became mentally and geographically unstable. I moved, I think, 7 times in approximately 6 months. I even went to the church. Actually, I started to have tic. I'm not ashamed at all to share that with you guys. I mean, to the point we are at. I'm going to tell you what it is. I would be in indoor tram station, and I'm going to give an example just for the sake of the video. So I would be like this, and at one point I will do that, and yeah, it went that bad. After finding a place, I was going to the church to get some food. I would feed the homeless and leave with a bag of unsold food from the supermarkets. Keep the things that I liked, and the things that I didn't like, that were not my taste, I would distribute it to the homeless in the street. Moving on, after that I moved in a place where I stayed for 2.5 years, just before moving to London. And when I moved there, I ironically started to have my mental issues back. Finally, I was stable, I had worked. A few things happened that triggered my mental health. This is one example. I'm not saying that this situation caused what is going to follow. I had seen on IG that my sister was still following my abusive ex and was still liking pictures. My sister and I had a conversation on the phone, and I asked her, why are you still following this guy? Why are you still liking his pictures? Like, nothing happened. She told me that it wasn't because I had a sexual fantasy of mine that turned wrong, that she couldn't talk to him, or you know, that he didn't do anything wrong to her. And basically he said that to her when she asked him about it, and she was basically telling me that she was believing him. And I'm not gonna lie, it really hurt my feeling. Like, I remember when she said that, I started crying, because I told her, like, how could you say something like that? We have known each other since we were 10 years old. It hurt my feelings also because prior to that, a few years ago, before all of that happened, my sister was in a long-term relationship, you know, the kind of relationship where you envision marriage, children, and buying a home. He broke up with her and started a new relationship with somebody who was at their uni. And the two of them started to bully my sister. You know, make her feel uncomfortable. When they would run into each other, she would cry. At some point, I told my sister, they need to stop, because if I'm hearing one more thing, I'm going to the uni. Nobody is going to bully my sister. You know, the friend who drove me with my sister at the hospital said to me a few times during the time we were friends, so it's more than 10 years, that I was expecting too much from people. You're always going to end up being disappointed because everybody's different. Everybody handles things differently. Anyway, moving on, other triggered happened, and I again lost my mind, to the point where my brother and my uncle drove me to the hospital. Around 5, I decided to leave the hospital and to go to the train station. It was a few streets from the hospital. When the train came, I jumped. I had an emotional shock because I didn't die, obviously, and some people helped me to get back on the perron. I thought that the thing under the train would have gotten me. Of course, I had bruises or something. I was cut a little bit, but I thought I would be dead. I never had the opportunity to say thank you to the people who helped me, and also to the person who took my phone and my bag and gave it back to me. So not sure they're going to watch this video. I guess you'll never know, but if they do, thank you very much. Following that, the train station police came and handed me over to the police, drove me to the hospital, and then it went black. I woke up in a room with no window. I had a robe, you know, the hospital robe. They told me that I was in the mental section of a hospital. I asked for how long I was going to be there, and they said, we don't know. You first have to have session with the psycho team, and they will tell you about it. The time at the asylum was not like American Horror Story as Delirium. If you don't know that series, link down below for the trailer. It's a good series, so I had to put it. And also there is my favorite season, Hotel with Lady Gaga, so link down below. For those of you who have seen American Horror Story, it wasn't like that, of course, but it was still something on its own. First, I had my session with the psycho team, and they said that the judge had decided to stay for a month and a half. They gave me a room with a window, and then they told me that somebody was going to come into my room. The person that came in my room was actually in the facility before me going there. She just ran away during one of her free time. She was homeless for the time she went out. Staff had told me to try to be nice to her, try to be, you know, patient. So I said, okay. I gave her the hygiene kit that they gave me because my brother brought me things from home. So I gave her comb, soap, whatever. But she still wouldn't want to shower, guys, and it was awful. It was awful. Yeah, at some point we had arguments about it, and she started to go to the bathroom just wetting her hair. And when she started to do that, I was like, no, but if it's just wetting your hair, don't bother. The mattress in the room was so uncomfortable that I was sleeping on the floor. It was the floor, so it was still uncomfortable for the shoulders. It was still better than the mattress. And what I would do when the floor was hurting too much, I would, you know, then go on the mattress, sleep on the mattress until it's too uncomfortable, and then go back to the floor. One night, I was sleeping, and it went from "You want a real taste? At least I'm not a fake. Come unwrap me." What the fuck is that smell? What the fuck is that smell? And that was what was happening while I was sleeping. Like, I was like, what the fuck is that smell? I opened my eyes and discovered it wasn't a complicated case. What was that smell? The smell was that the girl in my room, who would sleep all day, all night, was wearing a panty during the day, dropping the panty during the night, and putting back the panty the day after that. And it was the same panty she had when she was homeless. So basically, the smell of it was crossing the room to my beautiful nostrils. Of course, there was some tension because at some point I was like, why don't you shower? Like, why don't you shower? There was a lot of tension because she didn't want to shower. She was sleeping all day, all night, and you know, we had a big window and the curtain would extended, covered 3/4 of the window, but she would always put it, you know, extended. Anytime I would want some lights in the room, she would make a whole thing about it. And also we had to do activities if we wanted to have some free time outside by ourselves, because I had to see our behavior or whatever. So what I would do was badminton, because I love badminton. And there was a guy just talking to me sometimes and laughing and making dumb jokes, whatever. She, through people, heard that we have talked and that we were playing badminton together, but there was other people, like, it was like we were playing like this. So it wasn't just him and I going to play together badminton. But she started to have a whole attitude about it. Started to say things like, yeah, and you like him, and he thinks you're pretty, and blah blah blah. He told you that he thinks you're pretty. I was just like, whoa, I don't even understand how you can think that I'm interested by someone who aesthetically fits you. Yeah, because of that, she started to say to people, you know, the other girls who were, you know, disturbed or who had done the same thing that I did, that I was trying to control her, give her order. Some people flipped, as some people do. Other people were like, well, that's strange because I never gave them that vibe. But to me, it was just like, ugh. During that time there, as I mentioned, I was going during my free time to see exhibition, which was really a cool thing to do, given the fact that I was with those people. And it's also during my time there that I recorded my first track, actually. And I remember the beginning of it was like, sucking out my titties like Christmas candy. Anyway, when I was about to leave, people stole my phone. It was a whole situation, and one of the medical staff really took it seriously and really tried to help me to have my phone back. She said to everybody during the morning reunion that nobody is going out until we find the phone. So she checked every room. She didn't find my phone. Around 2 p.m. she came back to me and said that unfortunately, due to the facility rules, she could not stop people from going out from now. And then I did what my brother did when in one of his foster care homes had stolen one of his PS3 or 4, which was to get in front of the door and say nobody's passing the door until I have my phone back. And I meant that shit. Nobody was passing until I had my phone back. Yeah, at the end of the day, a cleaning lady found my phone in the trash, and it was like my phone had a swimming session in the trash. I had cleaned it, but those hating ass bitches, as hating ass bitches do, broke the glass of my phone and threw my phone in the toilet and flushed it. So yeah, I left the asylum and I had explained to everybody that I wanted to have my fresh start in Paris, and my family was not really agreeing to that because basically they were saying if something happens to you, it's at least 3 hours for one of us to get to Paris and help you. Why don't you go to London? Your father lives there, and you know, it could be great to have a support system. My father said, come stay 6 months with us, with me and my girlfriend, and if you like London, you stay, and if you're not, at least you would have lived 6 months in a big city and you will know how it goes, and you can go to Paris after that. I went there, and well, I was in Bexley Heath. My father's girlfriend was just, yeah. I don't even want to insult her, even though she insulted me for weeks. She was calling me a bitch all the time. As soon as I let her know that I heard her in the morning saying to one of her friends that her son was thinking that I was a bitch, even though him and I never really had a conversation. Even though he said that I was a bitch, I can't even say things about him because we didn't even talk like that. So you can call me a bitch. I can be a bitch, but I wasn't, so whatever. So I'm not going to explain everything that happens with her. I'm just going to explain 2 things. The first thing being that, you know, the first gate to enter the building, you couldn't enter with a key. You had to, you know, press numbers and call the apartment. So when I was doing that with my groceries, I had a lot of things with me, but she wouldn't open the door even though she was there. What I would have to do was I would have to go around, escalate something, and then go up the wood gate. And the thing was, the wood gate had some robbery painting, you know, the painting that stained all of your clothes or whatever to prevent from robberies. Basically, I had robbery painting on my clothes, shoes, trench, pajamas, and I was telling her, okay, you don't like me, okay, maybe you find me annoying or whatever, but we can still be respectful. But she was just calling me a bitch and a bitch and a bitch. At first she was doing that when my father was not there, and then she started to say it when he was there, and I was just looking at my father. My father would say to me, don't say anything, don't say anything. One day I had enough. I started to get pissed, and my father stopped me saying, here we call the popo, so don't do that. Like I said, she was 80, but she was really trying to push me to my limits. It went to the point where one day she was talking shit about me to me, and I looked at her calmly and I said, that's the reason why somebody tried to kill you, because in her past somebody tried to kill her, one of her husbands. She was pissing me off, but I didn't want to have a fight with an old lady, so I just said that to you know, to say something back, but of course nobody deserves to be killed or whatever. And the second thing I wanted to say that happened was that she was talking to my father. Like, I never saw somebody being so comfortable to talk to their loved ones in front of one of their children the way she was talking to my father. Like, imagine your mother or your father is living with somebody else. You are there and you're eating something. Your father, your mother is watching TV on the phone, maybe a little bit loud, you know, joyful, whatever. It's not past midnight, and the loved one stormed off the room and say, shut up, shut up. Can't you see that I'm trying to sleep? Shut up. She will always be on some, if you don't like it, take the door. Blah, 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 blah. Take the door. Take the door. And at some point I was just staring in my room, and she asked me one day, why are you always staying in your room? And I said, why do you care? It doesn't make sense. Why do you care if I'm in my room, since we are all in the living room? You're watching a show, not asking anybody if they want to watch something. My father is on his phone. Me, I'm trying to find a job, and you keep talking to my father like it's your dog or something. So what? You want me to be a witness to that? I have to be there to just watch you do whatever, I'm not interested. Thank you very much. I can be in the room looking for a job calmly, don't have to be there around for that. And it went to the point where she said something very interesting. I was talking to her, well, we were having an argument, and I said to her, look at the way you talk to my father or myself, and then you want to play the victim. A lot of times she would come to me, complain and vent about my father and whatever, and cry and stuff on. And she looked at me offended. No, you're playing the victim. When she said that, I really thought it was interesting. I said, well, that's very, very interesting. How am I playing the victim? I don't insult you back. I'm not saying anything, and I'm not complaining. So, how am I playing the victim?